Hola,
Jambo.
tudo bem? Bro, what is
Like,
Jumbo? What is
Jambo is Swahili.
oh I'm
Actually, do you know, I think Jambo is welcome in Swahili.
oh
Anyway, I
oh
didn't know. How do you answer in answer that?
what hola tudo bem? Bien, I think.
Bien.
But bien is Spanish, right?
Mm,
But Portuguese and
it's
Spanish are
French.
Ndebele and Zulu.
Ça va bien. It's French, no?
Until you say como estás, then you say no, that's not French. Como estás
No, but bien. Ça
is
va bien.
fine. Bien means fine.
Mm. But
Until like
Jambo is a greeting.
huh?
Wrong there.
Jumbo is
It's
what?
a greeting. It is a greeting.
Uh and then aquaba. Do you know what language that is?
Ghana. It's not Ghana. It's Ga
Is it
or
Ga or is it Twi?
Twi. One of the two.
Aquaba, welcome.
I like it. It's nice.
Yeah, I like it. I like it. Anyway, welcome to Girls Guys podcast with me, Natasha.
Xolie.
I sometimes go by Nat.
Let's go on a shower.
Yes, Nat, not to be mistaken for Natalie.
Oh,
But a lot
who,
of people, hmm?
who called you Natalie?
No, a lot of people just would be like, oh, Natalie, like they assume because it's Nat. But for some reason, I never correct them.
Why? Do you like Natalie?
I don't mind the name, like it's a beautiful name. But I always think to myself, it depends. If it's important, I will say no, it's Natasha. If it's not, I'll
You
leave
can
it
do that.
because I think, what if one day I need to deny?
But no, actually. Natalie. Me. No, never.
Yeah. So that
That makes,
what if one day I need to deny?
that makes sense. That's a good plan, actually.
So I just leave people to be like Natalie because best
Casting
believe I'll be like, I'm not Natalie. I don't know who this person is.
Natasha. That's a good
So
one.
Natalie did what? Natalie said what? No, it wasn't.
No.
No.
But Natalie needs to be stopped. We're busy wilding.
Yeah. So I leave I if I care enough about the person, I'm like, no, it's Natasha. But if not, I'm like Natalie, okay.
So, Miss, guys, what thing is on zakho. As Natalie, the sins that you've committed as Natalie.
None yet, but I'm like, let me not correct people.
Mm.
It's just
Ah,
like I'll say this in the it's just like I want to wear utility bill when they get your name wrong.
uyachiya kunjalo.
Because
Why?
let me not be sharing my
Oh,
I
God.
don't know if the water company knows that Natasha, that's all I'm saying.
You. I
No, I'm joking, allegedly.
allegedly. Disclaimers being thrown around.
Oh, another thing, do you know, Guti, if in England, I don't know about other parts of the UK, if you are parked in a private parking lot, so for example, say like apartments and which have like basement parking or whatever, and you don't have a permit, anywhere where you're parked, um, that doesn't belong to the local authority, to the council. If you get a ticket,
Really?
I mean,
That doesn't make sense to me.
that's why, like in some spaces, they'll be like, "Oh, we'll, what do they call it when they put the thing in,
Clamp.
huh? Clamp the
Clamp.
car." But if they put a ticket,
Sounds like you're talking from experience.
It's not
Like
enforceable.
it sounds like you know exactly what you're talking about.
It's not enforceable. A private parking company, a private car park company, if they issue.
Really? Now we know.
But people get scared by the letters.
Yeah.
Although, when you now know you can just return, and they'll stop because they may to take you to court, but they need to do it. And it costs money to go to court.
What other illegal activity have you been up to, Natasha? Clearly, the Thames water is not elizweni lakho.
No,
Tickets.
No,
But
the thing
is, a law-abiding citizen.
No, the thing is with the ticket is what they'll try and then do is every day they'll come and issue you a ticket until they have 5 tickets. Because when they've now issued you 5 tickets, they can clamp, and it's now £1,000. Then they take your car.
That's how they get the money.
And that's why, like, as long as they identify your car, they'll keep coming until they clamp the car. But if you get one, but
you just get a parking permit, please. This
is not me I'm talking about. I have
Can the person who is parking on private property just get a parking permit?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, like, sometimes you have the one day where so they can't do anything to. Okay, no. I'm not advised
people astray.
No, because people get scared, so then they will pay because the letters are quite scary. But
okay,
silence is golden.
We are not advocating.
Oh no. Oh gosh, no. Of course.
Pay your water bill, people. Make sure your name is on it.
Yeah. Yes.
And get your parking permit sorted in time.
Make sure if you're parked where there's a local authority, don't mess with those people because they'll take you to court and it will go on your record. But with the private companies,
Natasha, stop. Hey, what's wrong? Whatever next.
Cash App. You know when you cash up people?
Yeah.
I think it doesn't say the name of who you've cash apped people to. So that's why you find that like a lot of guys will want to use Cash App because it covers the trail. So if say you wanted to send me money, college, and you didn't want to cause arguments in your home,
Cash App is the way.
Statements. Why is Natasha receiving this? You just Cash App.
Okay. What else? You seem to have a lot of knowledge on these things.
OnlyFans. Don't, because your statement will show that it's OnlyFans.
You have knowledge with this as well.
No, I read
in those famous books that are always reading. Asazi, sure, Natasha.
Yeah, okay. This was absolutely a very bad start to the episode that we're looking to have, which is supposed to be a serious episode. But anyway, yeah, guys, check out our previous episode, which was titled "Oops," where we talked about, allegedly paternity fraud.
Talked about the pandemic.
And also, guys, Patreon guys, your episode was out last week, so check Patreon for a link to that where we had a juicy conversation. Don't forget, you guys can support us on Patreon as well. It is one of the ways that we are making our podcast sustainable. So Patreon, we've got exclusive content, a little bit more juicy, like a little bit more guans.
There's no sass.
Yes. before I get into it, what is there anything? What have you been reading? What's going on? Anything on your?
What have I been reading? I haven't actually. I in and out read Barack's book, um, A Promised Land, and I just recently acquired Oprah. It's not Oprah's book. You know that one where she is like the co-author. What is the name? Something about recognizing your traumas and blah blah blah. I promised myself that I wasn't going to read such books because I don't want things that trigger me, but I want things that will help me at the same time, if that makes sense. I've forgotten what it's called. Let me see if it's come up on my library. No, not yet, because it was a preview. And I finished Somebody Give This Heart a Pen by Sophia Thakmo, which is poetry, which is really good. But yeah, I'll feedback once I have finished that one. Have you finished A Promised Land?
No, not yet, because I've been listening to it on Audible, so I normally listen to it when I'm like doing walks and stuff, but no, I just haven't got back into it.
Yeah, same. Yeah, I'll let you know.
Cool. Okay, so on to the politics segment. So a few weeks back, we mentioned Mozambique and what was happening there, with some of the insurgency attacks, and people losing their lives. So just wanted to take some time to go over this again.
Yeah.
So what I really wanted to have a conversation about was what's happening in Mozambique, and also just what a little bit about what I've been reading on. There's been talks about SADC intervening, and different countries intervening, including Zimbabwe as well. So just like a bit of background. So who's attacking Mozambique? So apparently, the main insurgent faction is one called Ansar al-Sunnah, a native extremist faction with tenuous international connections, right? So apparently, from mid 2018, the Islamic State of Iraq, and ISIL have allegedly become active in northern Mozambique as well, and claimed its first attack against Mozambican security forces in June 2019. In the previous episode, a few episodes back, I remember we're talking about the attack on a place called Palma in Mozambique. So I've kind of been, I think what kind of piqued my interest was, okay, the whole talk about, SADC intervening and military, and just like, oh my God, okay, this sounds quite very reminiscent of DRC. You remember, like when Zimbabwe forces went to DRC, the cost in terms of lives, the cost in terms of just, financial, and just the disruption to that region. So I came across an interesting article on Friends of the Earth .uk, and so I'll just kind of like read a little bit of what it said. So this particular article says that, in the past couple of weeks, we've seen some horrifying news emerge from Mozambique. Killings, beheadings, and entire communities fleeing the coastal region of Cabo Delgado. Shockingly, this has been going on for some time. Armed groups have been terrorizing civilians since 2017. And then the question is, why is this happening, right? Because the headlines, like I've seen on BBC, on Sky, it's just like, oh, these terrorists, this Islamic terrorists in northern Mozambique, there needs to be intervention. There's all this thing, humanitarian. And it's just like, okay, just geographically thinking, right, of where Mozambique is, like Islamic terrorist, like
It
just
seems weird.
I'm just like, this is a bit, okay. So this article, and then I'll share with you a conversation that I was a part of this weekend. So it just said, oh, like the world, there's certain parts, certain entities in the world, including also the Mozambican government, wants the world to believe that the violence is simply a case of foreign Islamist terrorists. But the issue is not that simple,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
As I thought that the issue is not that simple. Mozambique, so to set the scene, Mozambique is one of the poorest countries in the world and still recovering from a bloody civil war. And I know that because years back, my mom used to work in Mozambique for Oxfam. And I remember like even going, like the poverty in Mozambique. Obviously, you get like your Maputo and like the tourist areas that are, but then like just the poverty was just like not comparable to Zim, right? Um, and so apparently, this is where I was like, mm-mm. So vast quantities of natural gas were discovered off the coast of Cabo Delgado in 2010, right? And then the region became focus of energy giants and all that stuff. So you had companies like Total that descended on on Mozambique. Um, so, and then it just goes on to say that, although foreign investment is seen as a good thing, in theory, as we know, like in theory, the investment should help the local community as well, right? But that has not been the case. So the promises of new jobs provided by the industry were not met. And instead, many families were displaced from places because when they were doing the oil and gas exploration, right? What does that cause? It causes resentment. So you have people where there's high unemployment, there's high poverty. They're seeing their local places, they're seeing foreign investors being prioritized over them, coming to regions, and there is then resentment. Not to negate the fact that, yes, there could be this element of Islamic terrorists. And again, apologies, this is what like BBC and whatever are saying, but I don't know if that is, I don't know if that's the right term, because I feel like it's sort of like painting a broad brush on a particular religion. I've never liked it, right? But I'm just saying this for a lack of a better term. Um, and yeah, so this whole thing, right, is there's been impact on the climate and whatever. And I think the bigger story here is that there are elements of groups that are coming together to make certain places ungovernable because they don't want foreign investors there and all that stuff. Yes, there has been loss of life, and that should be condemned fully, right? But then what has been clear to me is that a lot of people that are commenting on this, and then there's talk about SADC intervention. It's like, okay, the key thing is, do we understand what the problem is? So then over the weekend, 2 weekends ago now, because we're pre-recording, I was in a room on Clubhouse, right? So there's this club called SADC Unites, and they talk about issues that are topical in SADC. And the title of that room was, sort of like standing in solidarity with the Mozambican crisis or whatever, right? So there were a lot of people and, a lot of Zimbabweans, a lot of Zambians, South Africans like talking. And we immediately were like, where are the Mozambican voices, right?
Yeah.
Because we're talking about all this SADC intervening, but we're not hearing Mozambican voices. And then there's a lady who joined, her name is Selma, who's from Mozambique. She's currently outside of Mozambique. And it was just so interesting hearing her reflections, right? So this is what she said. She was like, first of all, like, you know, it's great to see people, you know, interested in talking about Mozambique, but then we need to take a step back and really like identify what crisis are we talking about, because she said that even she said in Mozambique, the way Mozambicans relate to Mozambique is quite different, in the sense that more people are more patriotic to their provinces, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's not a case of, oh, I'm Mozambican. It's like, I am from this region and that region. And because of, you know, so apparently like the northern part of Mozambique is just so geographically, I mean, far from Maputo, and also for whatever reason, it's not in sync with the rest of the country. So even people in Mozambique don't know what is happening in the northern part of Mozambique. And then she made a good point, the same point that this article is making, that it is not a simple issue. It is a complex issue. And there was someone else in the room who said that before 2010, when they used to go to Mozambique, things were cheap, right? But as soon as you now had all these foreign investors and everything, like prices went up. So
Yeah.
what does it mean for locals? You know, you can just imagine, you can see that how that just causes a bit of instability, right? So I just thought it was interesting. And then another thing that the lady said was, the big thing that's happening in Mozambique is the climate crisis, right? Because of where Mozambique is based, like near the coast, like there is a serious climate crisis, which really links into this article from the friends of the earth, that say that there's, you know, it's a green issue, right? So I just thought that was so interesting, just to kind of really sort of have that. And another thing that she said was, Mozambique, I think I was saying, it's it always feels like it doesn't fit, it doesn't sink in and align very seamlessly with its neighbors, because there's language difference, cultural difference. So she was saying like Mozambicans sort of like align more with Angolans, because
Yeah.
there's shared culture, shared
Yeah.
whatever. So I just thought that was an interesting one, because I just, you
Yeah,
know,
it's interesting because I did a bit of reading, and so what interested me, yes, there's a lot of, I think you've said there's a lot of issues around around what's going on in Mozambique right now, and it's very multifaceted. But what for me drew my attention was, like what you have said, is that it's rich in, it's one of the poorest countries, but it is so rich in all these natural resources. And Total, what used to say Total, which is a French company, has recently like invested like it's a $20 billion gas project in how do you say it? Palma?
is
How
it
do you say it?
Capo Delgado?
That one, Capo Delgado. So, and then I think, so what I was interested in was like, okay, so all this has been happening. Like they have been doing their work for some time now, and I think since January they had stopped, and then they picked up again in March. But then there was all these attacks. Then they were like, oh, this is again insurgent attacks from that group that you have mentioned. But also, what was also interesting was that there's claims that these IS attacks are not actually from that particular region, and that they were from, I wrote it down. Anyway, that they were not, that people took pictures of these the terrorists, as you would call them, traveling down from one region to another, but they were not exactly in that region, and they've identified the group. What's the group name again? Sorry, Al something.
Yeah, I'll need to.
So that group has got ways in which they kind of operate, and that is not the same way that they're operating now. So is it that the international community is wanting attention to Mozambique, saying that yes, there's a rise in insurgent attacks because they really just want to go back to doing what they're getting back to their oil business, which is generating a hell of a lot of money and yet not benefiting the people who are actually on the ground. So it's just, I found that really interesting. And there is also a food crisis in Mozambique, which has been going on for some time now. And what I found also interesting was that Total has been, so when they're operating, the food, there's food availability because they've worked out an agreement with the government to kind of increase food supplies to that particular town. And also, not only is there food, but the food prices are halved. So in essence, it's like you're making 20 billion, but what the community is getting is 20, I don't know what currency they use in Mozambique, but 20, I don't know, say $1 for bread instead of paying $2 for bread. So you can understand that, on a wider scale, that is definitely not right. You can't be benefiting on such a wide scale, 20 billion, and giving somebody pittance for food. So I can understand where that resentment is coming from as well.
And also, I'm sorry. Thank you very much for the food, Mr. Total, but give me work, right? I mean, sorry, like this is, it's not acceptable. Give people jobs, give people projects, make sure that your suppliers, you're including local suppliers as well, for different things, local farmers.
Yeah, it should benefit the people on the ground, not just by giving them a food donation. Yes, food is important. I'm an advocate for food, but give these people what they rightfully deserve as well. Like, you are on their land. What you do should benefit them, right? And I give you, like, they were saying that they're building, Total was developing its own war compound with an airstrip. This just goes to tell you just how much money these guys are making. They're freaking building an airstrip so that they can be landing, taking off. And if they're doing that, like, I'm just thinking there's an element of connections with the government that you're actually making, that you're able to do that, so that you're actually landing in and out of the country whenever you want. And this is, to bring it closer to home, is like, where did that 15 billion go? Like, where is that money, guys? We are still missing that money. And this is the same thing that's happening in Mozambique. And it's an absolute shame.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. And it kind of made me think of, so like, it's the whole, like, the different countries that have colonized Africa, right? I don't think it's a mistake that if you look at former French colonies, former British colonies, former Portuguese colonies, right? Portugal colonies, they seem to be the same kind of issues that are affecting. Because I'm like, Angola has been sort of unstable for a while, right? There were the land issues in Angola. So listen, I'm just thinking out loud, allegedly, I don't know. But it makes you think, like, what is really going on? Because we do know that there was this case that was widely it wasn't really, it was a story, but then it was all hashed out in the press. Margaret Thatcher's son, I forget his name, was involved in an incident where in Zimbabwe, they arrested them when Zimbabwe intercepted they were going to sort of go and do a coup in, I forget what country it was.
Yeah, I've forgotten where they were, but I remember that they were intercepted and they had to be airlifted out or something. Was it not in a, where I've forgotten.
Because they went to jail in Zim, right?
Yeah.
In Zimbabwe, and then I think they were extradited to that country. But I know that Britain and everything, they kind of intervened. But those, that is one example, what that we know. Oh, it's Mark Thatcher. Mark Thatcher. And yeah. I mean, I kind of remember when allegedly, long back, I remember someone who knew someone who used to work for him because they used to live in South Africa, and they got like a helper to move with them to the UK, and apparently, but anyway, let me know. Yeah, so that helper was kind of spilling the beans. So we know that these things happen, right? Where there is a concerted effort to destabilize governments, so that when there's chaos, because when there's chaos, there's opportunity for other people.
Oh, absolutely.
So
thrive.
So I just think the Mozambican story is just an interesting one. Obviously, it makes it a little bit harder in terms of the language. I remember I put on social media, I was like, oh, can somebody link me to Mozambican Twitter? And then somebody tagged Samira, who is she's a journalist that looks at like African issues, stuff. Then she tagged quite a few people that I've followed, but some of them like tweet in Portuguese, some of them don't. But I think the key thing for me was just kind of like, okay, we need to really do our own investigative, like,
yeah, absolutely,
journalism almost. Not to say intervention is not necessary, but
I think it's interesting. I think we have to know the agenda. Like, what agenda are you pushing? And like I said, I just did a brief search, and that was what caught me. That's what caught my eye. There's a lot of other things that are happening. There's like you said, the humanitarian issue of people being displaced. There's the people dying. There's a lot of those issues that are underlying. There's the poverty. There's all these other socioeconomic issues. I'm really interested to see, if all these reports are being driven by somebody who's pushing their own agenda. So, e.g., somebody who's due to make quite a bit of money from this, but yes, it's important to have the full story, to have the full context of what's happening, to know what exactly is going on the ground. So it'll be interesting. And also, one other interesting thing that I read, because I was like literally in a bit of a rabbit hole. So, in Cabo Delgado, there is, and I hope I'm saying that right, there was, after all these insurgent attacks, they were saying that rebuilding the infrastructure was going to cost over $113 million. And I don't know if this $130 million, I don't know what currency, I don't know what currency they use in Mozambique. But in the same breath, not a single bit of the total site was touched. So with all this damage that was done, the total site was left untouched. Sorry. So there's just I'm really interested to see like who is pushing whose agenda in this respect. So definitely want to keep an eye on in the coming few weeks.
Yeah, want to keep an eye on. This is what happens when you're recording late and you can't get your words right. But yes, guys, please forward this to any Mozambican contacts that you have. Really, really interested in speaking to people who live in Mozambique, or are Mozambican. So you don't have to
be come onto the podcast.
Yeah. And yeah, just really, really, really keen to get firsthand, and even maybe if you're wherever, but you have close links with Mozambique, or you've worked there or lived there, just really, really want to, because I think we tend to, when we speak, like normally we'll speak about South Africa and whatever, just because, yeah, we're just culturally more closer to them. But I'm interested. But yeah, so just turning slightly, just quickly before we close off, another thing, like I was thinking, like with Mozambique, like I definitely want to go there to visit, because I've seen some people like going there on vacations and all that stuff, and it looks really, really cute. Would you want to go to?
Yeah, 100%. Like, I know there's close proximity with Cape Town and Mozambique, so I think the border is quite doable, like if you're in Cape Town. So it was something that I had thought about. I had considered going to Mozambique when I traveled next to South Africa, and then they had the floods as well. What was, that's thing that affected, it wasn't just floods. I think it was quite a big thing. So then obviously it's really put plans in it derailed plans, because you're like, how can you, where, or how does that even work? Like, there's people who are not, don't have anywhere to stay, and you're going there wanting to parade by the beach. So, there was that aspect. But yeah, I would definitely love to see Mozambique when it's a little bit more stable. Hopefully we'll get to that stage.
Yeah, no, I would too. Like I've seen people in there's pictures that I've seen, like, is it Beira Island? Like I'm like, yes, like I definitely want to go. And I'm on this whole, like, we need to support, I don't know what you call it, right? So I have a thing where I'm like, in terms of tourism, obviously there are all these easy places to go to, your Europe and all that stuff. But actually, what if we were to use our monies to help support and bolster up um, economies of developing countries? So I'm thinking, like, Haiti is on my list. Like, I want to go to Haiti so bad.
Oh, really?
Mm.
Never. I don't know why. I've never thought about it. That would be quite an interesting. There's quite a lot of history with Haiti, I suppose. Um, I have to say, for me, Africa is at the heart of places that I want to go to. I really want to explore more of Africa, and just be in that place where, you don't stick out like a sore thumb. You fit in. It's only up until you open your mouth that somebody would recognize it to you. You know what? You're not from here. Yeah, I'm not. But I love that blending in with people, and not that you wouldn't blend in with the Haitians. I'm sure you would. But I am definitely more for places that have got culture, that have got a little bit more depth to them. I'm really done with Europe, because I feel like you've gone to one place, you've seen it all. I feel like I've been to Paris, I've been to France, Prague, all those other places. But I really find I enjoy myself a lot more when my foot is on the African soil.
So where have you been in Africa?
So I've only been to Kenya and Ghana, obviously Botswana as well. But not on holiday. Not, I don't know if you can say it on holiday, because we had family who lived in Botswana, so we used to go to Botswana quite a bit, but not to kind of explore all those other places. So,
part of Botswana?
what's the place close? What's the place just after Gaborone?
But there's another place Oh, I forget. The one that's really, really closer to the border. I forgot.
I've
Yeah.
forgotten as well.
So
But yeah,
how was Gabs?
Gabs, Ghana,
No, Cameroon.
or Gabs. It was good, but like I'm saying, I wouldn't really count it as a place that I've been, because in order for me to kind of say I'm going to visit a place, I want to do my own research. But we went there as a family. We used to go there as family, so it was nice, I suppose. But you don't really get to explore. You don't really get to see much of the place apart from what the people are showing you. Do you know what I mean? And that's always on the beaten track. So you want to go off the beaten track to really get the depth of what the place is, what it has to offer, instead of just staying on the touristy paths. Do you see what I mean? I like to go off radar and just literally go to the places where people don't want to go, because I think those are the fun places. Those are the places that you want to be linking in with, see how people really live.
So what does off the beaten track mean? This is the first time I've heard that term.
So off tourist areas. So for example, if you had to go to America or go to New York, so you'd want to go to the States Empire Building or the statue, whatever it is. So those are just very touristy. Those are things that you'd find on the Lonely Planet book. So off the beaten track is like, okay, so what else is there besides all these places where tourists go to, where tourists flock to? And you find that there's you have a lot more fun there than you do on the beaten track.
Ah, I get that. Okay, so what about Ghana?
I loved Ghana so much. Did I love it more than Kenya? I don't know. I think they're different places, but I loved Ghana. Oh my God. So Ghana, I went there after Christmas into New Year one day. So New Year's over there. It was such fun. The people are so friendly. The food is divine. But you could literally, and what I'm saying, like, when you could actually feel that you don't stick out, like you're just a part of the people. You walk the streets, you're chova like everybody else, because nobody's going to think that you're different, or that you're not from there, or think that are you a tourist, up until you open your mouth and ask a question, how do I get to this place? Or or you speak and your accent is different. But otherwise, people just don't care about you. They don't give you a second look, unless of course, you're in a group of young people who are then like, oh, what's happening, kind of thing. But I really enjoyed Ghana. I loved Ghana so much. I loved it that much that it's one of the places I would go back, and even go back to the same places that I'd gone to. And obviously there's the whole history with Cape Coast, the Slave Coast. So there's that side of things as well. So you get in touch with the whole slave trade, how people were treated, and get to see it firsthand, and actually walk the grounds where they walked, see like how the conditions that they lived in, be in that. So it kind of really makes you appreciate history as well. It makes you, it just makes you really appreciative of where we've been, to be honest, and those who have walked before us. So I love that. And then Kenya, on the other hand, Kenya was fun in a different sort of way, because with Kenya, Ghana, even though it's also on the coast, you'd find that the beach and everything wasn't, or the places that we went to, so again, off the beaten track, the beach, you couldn't actually go and jump into the pool. You had to go to certain beaches. But some places that we went to, there was just literally people living there on so if you had fishermen villages and stuff. But Kenya on the other side, so we went on the beaten track. So the girl I was with at that time, we stayed at a nice hotel by the beach. And, we got to enjoy that culture as well. We got to enjoy being pampered, so to speak, by like, you know, being in that hotel environment, being served and stuff like that. Whereas in Ghana, we were just living in a, what is it called? Like an Airbnb kind of thing, which wasn't very expensive. It was more like a friendly family kind of environment. So you had, so it was just different. It was different. But I think the thing that I enjoyed the most was just blending in with people. I remember going to, like, I think it was Cambodia or Thailand years ago. And I remember it was about 2008. And it was a time when Michelle Obama and Barack were hitting the TV scenes. And these kids would run around me saying, "Oh, you look like Michelle Obama." Because I was like, oh my goodness, these kids probably haven't seen another Black person, like, you know, another woman. And they're like saying, "Oh, you look like Michelle Obama." I look nothing like Michelle Obama. So do you see what I mean? So that was the main difference.
And then, like, I'm just interested because I've never been to those places, and I would love to go. Like, were there any similarities with Zimbabwe, for example, maybe that you saw in Ghana or Kenya, something that it wouldn't be sort of obvious that you're like, oh my God, we also have this, or or is this, or are there things? Two questions: similarities, and then also, are there things that kind of made you appreciate Zimbabwe more and be like, oh, actually?
Similarities, I don't know. Do you know, I think because I felt like at home, it was only when the time when we're eating or when we're having conversations with people that you'd realize that you're in a different space. The people are so friendly, like, they're so welcoming, they're so eager to help. They're so, you know, so there are people who go out of their way. And I think I find that even with Ghanaians here that I meet in London or wherever, I find that they are just always so accommodating. They're always willing to go the extra mile. And that reminds me a lot of Zimbabweans because, or does it? Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think in Zimbabwe you could stop someone on the street and ask them, oh, you know what, where is this place? And then somebody would be like, okay, you know what, it's there, Yakona left Lapa. You know, do you know what I mean? They'll go into that detailed, they want to help you. People want to help. Whereas in South Africa, you'd be wondering, is this person leading me to a den? So I always have that. And I think because I'm just not streetwise. So you don't need to be that streetwise in Ghana or Kenya. So that was what I think I appreciated about it. Kenya is a little bit more, or it was at that time. I think you needed to have an element of streetwiseness. You know, you don't just take people's word for it. But what I found with Ghana was that, you know, if somebody said that this was it, you know, and we just met such amazing people who would be like, I remember we went, got our hair braided, Lorambi, and it was late at night. And this lady was like, oh, you know what, I'll take you because I live not too far from Osu, so I'll take you. So off we went into her car and in the middle of the night and drove off into the pitch darkness.
You wouldn't do that in South Africa. What?
Hell no. In fact, I don't know if you'd even do that in Zim, to be honest. But that's just the kind of relaxation that you felt. You felt just at ease. And then the difference is, I suppose, it comes to food. You know, the food is just different. They are coastal, so there's a lot of fish. You know, and then there's the language. And then the way they have, like, I think I remember this, they had this day, I think it was Friday, where this national dress day. So that everybody who can is wearing their national gear, you know, so I guess that was a difference as well, because everybody participates in it, or all the women participated in it. And what else? And I think at that time I was very single. My poor guy listening to this is going to have a heart attack. But the guys were also very much approachable. Like they were very vocal, like, you know, about, oh, hey, you know, what's happening with you? And, you know, meeting also the diasporans from like, from America, from UK, wherever, you also find that there's that sense of home. Like these people really wanted to come back home and build roots with where they were from. So I found that quite nice as well. But more to tourism in Africa for me, for sure. Like I'd love to visit Tanzania for sure. And it's interesting, like that there's the Egypt. Like I've been to Morocco as well, but it never for me feels like it's quite. It feels African, not much, because it's just in a completely different culture. The way they treat their women, the food is different. It's just, and obviously the language again is a massive difference. But yeah.
Cool. No, I would love to go to the Gambia. Like,
yes.
People say it's beautiful, so.
What do you think? What is beautiful about it?
No, apparently, like they say, like the beaches are beautiful, like the food and everything.
The people.
And like Gambia is on the list. Is high on the list for British tourists.
We'll say no more.
For other unsavory reasons.
We'll leave people to their own imagination for that one.
Yeah, so apparently people during the pandemic were like, forget France. When am I going to the Gambia? I don't care about France.
You need to go and research for us and see what it is.
I don't care about Spain. I want the Gambia, mate.
And it's beautiful as well. Like, guys, I mean, I think for us, especially here in UK, in London, the tickets are so affordable, to go there. And to go to places in Africa as well. Like, and also I think we had this discussion about the expense of it as well. But, you don't necessarily need to go home as well, because I always find that going to Zim is such a bank breaker, 100%, because by the time you finish buying your ticket, time you finish buying stuff for people at home and stuff, and because you need to go via somewhere, like I tend to go via South Africa, so I've got family there, so you need to buy them stuff, then carry the stuff, and then, oh my goodness, that's flight from South Africa to Zimbabwe, which costs literally a flight from here to Gambia. Do you know what I mean? So I think it's definitely something doable. And there's all these other groups. So I joined this group ages ago. And interesting enough, they sent an email yesterday called Black Voyagers. So they look for people who are, what we're talking about, you can plan a trip with 4 people, then by 2 weeks before it's just you. Yeah. So it's just people who are solo travelers who then go on into a part of a larger group, so all Black people, and go into areas like, so you go to different countries. So you could go to, I think they're going to Tanzania first, and it's like nearly 2,000 something odd pounds for your travel and for your accommodation. So that is what would put me off going to these things, because I feel like you can cut the cost by booking your own travel, by booking your own accommodation. But I guess what you get from that is that you're not alone in an area that you don't particularly know.
And they probably have activities and stuff. No, that sounds interesting.
Yeah.
I would be interested in that. Black what?
Voyages.
I'll check it out.
Yeah, you should.
I'll check it out. No, like that and I think just the last point on the cost thing is I think it's the intercontinental travel that I sort of struggle with. So like if you're in Zim now wanting to go to Gambia or whatever, it's so costly. I understand what you're saying, that maybe if you're in the UK you can travel, you don't have to be going to Zim, but the reality is I think it's one of the barriers that if cost was not an issue, of course you'd go to Zim, then go to 5 other countries, just same way in Europe, right? you go to one part of Europe and you go to 5 other countries. But yeah, so there's definitely, I really hope that, in the next few years, there's something that's done to really make the continent more connected in terms of just travel and just increasing the demand. Yeah.
Yeah, no, 100%.
Yes, yes, yes. But anyway, let us sign out. Goli, where can people find you on social media? I am at Malaika Diva on Twitter.
Lovely, guys. And follow us on all our pages, Girl in Skies.
Yes.
Girl in Skies podcast.
Yes, 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 yes. Girl in Skies, Girl in Skies, Girl in Skies, Girl in Skies. And thank you so much. Let us know about the Mozambique thing, and also let us know if you live in other parts of the African continent that you think,
can we visit?
Exactly. Please let us know. Let us know. Like, can you just tweet us at Galen Skies, or on Instagram, just tag us or put in the comments. Just let us know the other places that you visited in the African continent, or maybe where you live, that you think are slept on and people don't talk about enough.
Yes. And this is the last time I'm recording so late. I'm so tired.
I know. I am. We have recorded 2 episodes. Oh, God. I'm tired. It is 11 p.m. But I hope when you guys listen, it sounds as if we recorded at 9 a.m.
Amen to that.
All right, guys.
Bye. Bye.